Yo, what is up, guys? We're back with another reaction video. This time it's a video by Established Context, probably one of the best YouTube videos or YouTube uploaders in terms of getting, important news or context around specific situations, especially going on in America. This guy tends to really do good research, so I'm interested in seeing what he has to talk about. The title of this video is "The Economic Crisis No One is Talking About." And, given all of the situations going on right now, I would be surprised if there is another thing where no one's keeping track of, considering everything that people have been talking about with this government. But anyway, let's get it going. This should be an interesting video.
American small businesses are being crushed by Trump's tariffs, according to multiple different news outlets. The same tariffs that have been ruled illegal by a federal court, but somehow are still left in effect while we wait for the Supreme Court to rule on them. Now, they're expected to hear the case on November 5th, and just yesterday, one of the companies arguing against the tariffs said in a brief that these illegal tariffs are a $3 trillion tax increase on Americans over the next decade. And while many of the headlines over the last several months have focused on the impact of tariffs for big businesses, it's really the small businesses that have been left in the dark here. See, small businesses in America represent more than 40% of the nation's GDP, and they employ nearly half of the American workforce. That's according to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. So in a lot of ways, they're the backbone of the U.S. economy, and yet they're the ones being dragged down the hardest from these tax increases.
Right now, there are more than 34 million.
And I think what's really important to realize here, right, even before we keep going with this, is that when it comes to the government and how they view small business, it's always going to kind of put them to the back burner. And you have to consider like a couple of reasons why, right? You have to consider the fact that they don't have the same lobbying power that larger companies do to really, secure influence in deciding specific regulations. They can't influence certain politicians to go in their favor because obviously they can't afford the same type of donations, quote unquote, that larger companies can. And then you look at the unequal access to capital. You look at the fact that pretty much any burden that is going to fall on a large company is going to hit a smaller company like that much harder, right? Like, so it's not even really that surprising that this is the outlook of what's going on right now. And I'd be more so surprised if the government really tries to take any actionable steps to help them out.
Small businesses in the United States. The latest data shows the number of owners who are confident in the financial future of their company is at the lowest point since 2009. Another survey finds about 62%.
Also, just want to say, anytime any economic stat starts out with lowest since 2009, yeah, just know it's not looking good, bruv.
Percent of small businesses say tariffs have negatively impacted their overall operations.
Small businesses can't navigate tariffs like a big corporation can. Big businesses have thousands of employees, some have entire teams that are specialized in mitigating this headache for them. They also have less leverage when it comes to negotiating with the administration. Your local manufacturer or retailer isn't getting a meeting with the White House and having exemptions carved out for their products like Apple is. The difference here is scale. Big businesses have economies of scale, which give them both leverage with suppliers and the navigation of production. But also, they often utilize something called transshipping. This is when companies reroute imports that come from one country, but make it seem like it came from a different one. Typically one that doesn't have a tariff or has a lower tariff than, say, a country like China. Doing this is technically illegal, but let's be honest, when has that really stopped big corporations before? And this is exactly what happened in Trump's first term. When he put steep tariffs on Chinese imports, the majority of companies just shifted their production to Vietnam, India, or Mexico, sometimes not even shifting the actual manufacturing process, just having China ship the products to these other countries first, so they could make them look like they were made in Vietnam or somewhere else, and then eventually send them to America, in some cases avoiding the tariffs completely. Notice how a slew of manufacturing jobs didn't come back in Trump's first term? Yeah, that's because the whole tariffs will bring jobs back is actually just a pipe dream, or maybe really just another form of a scam. Speaking of which, these days scams are getting more and more sophisticated, and it's now more important than ever that you remain diligent online, which is why I'd like to talk to you about the partner for today's video, NordVPN. Nord is more than just your average VPN service these days. It's really the all-in-one cybersecurity app for me. These scammers love to pretend to be someone you trust, whether that's a loved one. In the US, they all claim to be crushed by Trump's tariffs, and economists say it's a warning for the economy. One example from CNBC's article was a Utah-based small business called Village Lighting. They make Christmas lights and holiday decorations. Their supply chain is split about 50-50, half in Vietnam, Cambodia, Indonesia, Myanmar, and Thailand, and the other half is in China. Now, in 2024, they spent under $50,000 on tariffs, but this year, they expect to pay at least $1 million.
Gosh, damn. No, that's actually insane. And also, it's very interesting. I didn't know about the whole concept of big corporations just shifting their supply chain of how they're going to import certain goods to get around the tariffs. Which honestly, it shouldn't even be that surprising when I think about it. But I don't know why it didn't come to my head that companies could even do that in the first place.
That's a near 2,000% increase in import costs for the same goods from the same suppliers serving the same customers. The owner says every year he takes out a $2 million line of credit against his home. He then uses that money to load up on inventory for the holiday season. This year, though, he says he has to use that credit line to pay his tariff bill. The owner said, quote, "Hopefully I can turn around and mark things up enough for people to buy them from me so that I can pay back my tariff debt." And then he said, quote, "It's to the point now where it could kill us. It could take us down and I could lose everything." Another example highlighted a small business called CityBin. They make rat-proof trash enclosures for cities, parks, and homes. The owners of the company said that they used to manufacture in the US, but that domestic suppliers couldn't actually meet their expectations on things like price, quality, and lead time. So they ended up shifting production to China, and they rode that out for a while. But then when Trump got elected again, they knew exactly what was coming. So they scrambled to move operations to Vietnam, only for that plan to collapse too, because Trump ended up slapping them with tariffs as well. Their tariff bill in 2024 was around $68,000. This year, though, they expect it to be around $380,000. The owners say they've had to add a 15% tariff surcharge to products to offset the cost of them.
And what's even more tragic for the smaller businesses too is that they can't eat the tariffs as easily as big business can, right? Like big business, like all these tariffs are really going to do is kind of cut into their profit margins, but they're not exactly worried about not being able to operate or any real long-term disruption. Like if anything, this whole tariff nonsense is just something to annoy them for a couple of years and may, lower their stocks a little bit for a little bit, but it's not anything too detrimental to them. Whereas for these small businesses, the margin of error is significantly smaller. And any downtick in cost in revenue, should I say, or profit, could easily spell the end for them. So that's the other thing that makes these things scarier too, right? Like, are your customers willing to eat that 15% surcharge, or are they just gonna be like, "True, I'm just gonna go to Walmart or whatever the big manufacturer of this specific industry is? Do I really care to deal with this?" So that's the game you have to play, right? In terms of dealing with these tariffs while still not pissing off your customer base, especially if you don't have the money or the resources to navigate that.
But that this has led to a 25% decline in sales for homeowners, which makes up about 50% of the company's sales. Now, those are obviously just a couple examples from the piece by CNBC, which shout out to them for the excellent reporting. I'd strongly recommend you check out the article and learn more. Unfortunately, though, it does get even worse. See, a month ago, the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston published a survey for more than 600 small and medium-sized businesses. And what they found is quite brutal. Importers' uncertainty around tariffs has more than doubled just this year, from around 6% in December to over 13% by April. And for those actually paying these tariffs, the average rate has jumped from 6.5% to almost 11.5% in just 6 months. Think about that. Businesses are suddenly paying almost twice what they were half a year ago, and nobody knows where it really ends. How do you plan a budget, hire new staff, or sign a long-term contract?
Yeah, especially because Trump, like, when it comes to how he giving out these tariffs, he's very erratic about it, right? Like, if you piss him off, he's just gonna slap a stupid tariff on you. So it's not even like something where it's happening systematically, or he's going up, or he's titrating up like slowly, so you can kind of game plan how you're going to navigate. It's like, no, like, one day me and this country we're cool. Another day I'm gonna put a freaking 50% tariff on them because they pissed me off because they did XYZ. So like, you're literally banking on the stability of a man that isn't showing that in this specific go around as president. So I definitely feel for them in that aspect as well.
when the rules keep changing week to week. You can't. And that's exactly what's happening to small businesses. They're frozen in place while the big players find workarounds. And on a more global level, the United Nations Trade Agency recently warned that small and medium-sized businesses are at, quote, particular risk of investment slowdowns due to ongoing tariff uncertainty, which basically means while governments argue over trade policy in court, actual businesses in the US and abroad are left to just sit there and bleed money. Now, I just got to be blunt for a second. All of this is pretty fucking insane. How can one man just impose one of the largest tax increases on American citizens and businesses in modern history without any real oversight?
I mean, the answer to that is very simple. People are freaking stupid and they don't know how to read. Like, people genuinely thought from the jump that the other countries were going to pay these tariffs. And they thought that for months and months, even after he became president, even after multiple, newscasters, economists, experts said no, that the tariffs are going to be put on the American people. People still thought that anyway. It's freaking insane.
Without a single vote authorizing it. How can a court then rule it to be illegal and then somehow allow it to keep going? Well, I guess that kind of privilege is really reserved for the ultra wealthy in this country. But beyond that, it also alienates our allies, and it's a self-inflicted wound. We're hurting our own economy and our closest trading partners by doing this. Now, I know there will be people in the comments who will say, oh, you're just being political, or that I've got TDS. No, I don't really think so. This is about economics. And of course, some of it is my opinion on the facts presented. But economics doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's shaped every single day by policy decisions. And I just really can't get over the hypocrisy here. So many people complained about the cost of living when Biden was president. They even put those Biden did that stickers at gas pumps. Trump ran on fixing that, on bringing prices down, on helping small businesses, and a slew of other things. But now those same supporters seem to just be fine with small businesses seeing their tariff bills go up 2,000%, with some of them facing bankruptcy. What kind of con is that? The 16th.
No, I'm going to disagree there. That's not a con, because everything that he said he was going to do, he's done it, but those people just didn't want to listen to the result of those things, right? He may have said, oh, the tariffs are going to help us, but he never said he wasn't going to not do the tariffs. And again, Google is your friend. Google is free. Everyone said that this is what tariffs are going to do. So I'm sorry, if you voted for this guy and you owned a small business and now you're getting screwed, I don't feel bad for you. If you voted for this guy and you work in a small business and your job is at jeopardy because they can't afford to keep you on anymore because of all the tariffs they have to pay, I don't feel bad for you, because everyone said what was going to happen. This is not something that was happening under, behind the scenes and no one could have seen it coming. It's Cap. So yeah, he lied, but it wasn't exactly a good lie. It wasn't like elusive or anything like that. So I'm not going to give them any kind of sympathy whatsoever. And I'm not going to act like they were completely duped or they couldn't have seen this coming.
The 15th Amendment gives Congress, not the president, the power to tax. Over time, Congress has handed the White House limited emergency powers for things like tariffs, but Trump has turned those into a permanent tax on American businesses and consumers. And yes, Biden left some of those in effect from Trump's first term, which I also disagreed with. But now these tariffs are being used more broadly than ever before, which is exactly why the court stepped in and called them illegal. Because one man can't just rewrite the US tax code by executive order. Like, I really just can't cover this story without pointing out the cognitive dissonance here. Because this is extremely un-American at its core. This is taxation without representation. The whole reason America exists is because people got fed up with being taxed without a say. That's literally what sparked the Revolutionary War. And yet, here we are, 250 years later, letting one person impose what amounts to a multi-trillion-dollar tax on its citizens and businesses without a single vote for it in Congress. The irony here is just poetic. These tariffs were sold as protection, protecting American jobs, protecting American industries. But they've ended up doing the exact opposite, crushing the people they were supposed to protect, even if they never had a chance of doing that in the first place. So I guess the thing here is, if we're really serious about putting America first, maybe we should start with stopping policies that actively punish Americans. But on that topic, you definitely got to see what's going on with American farmers.
Yeah, no, definitely check out this video on the farmers thing. The farmers thing is crazy. But yeah, my lasting thoughts is, like I said, small business, you're never gonna have the same leveraging power or influence that a larger business do to get your voices heard in the government. Of course, I still urge you to do your best on And I don't even know how to really work around, what's going on, especially with like he said and I said too, the fact that a lot of the decisions that Trump makes are kind of at random, so you can't really game plan for it. But just to do your best, and hopefully we will all get out of this one day unscathed. But it is what it is for now. Let me know your thoughts down below. If you like the video, subscribe to the channel. Check out the original channel as well. I'll link the video as well. And most importantly, remember to have a good day.